How are you?
Hi. Good. How are you?
Good. So before we start, let me just adjust my head so you can see me. Um,
Hey.
how is everything?
We're hanging in here. How are you guys over there across the pond?
We're all right. We just had news today that London. So I don't know how it is. Just for everyone that's watching, Sheri is. Tell everyone where you are.
I'm in Los Angeles, California.
California. So we're in London, and obviously, and in London we've just been announced. So we've got a tier system. So depending on the area that you're in, the cases and whatnot, they make it stricter. But all it means really is that you can't go to the pub anymore. Um, how's everything? Tell
Drinking
everyone
at
who you
home
are.
is always
Drinking
nice.
at
Never
home's
mind.
great.
We're good. It's doing better than some, worse than others. So we're hanging in there. And no, I feel for everybody going through a hard time, but personally, like, we're okay. I can't complain. We're by the beach. You can take drives up and down the coast. So we're managing.
Cool. So Sheri, tell everyone who you are.
Sheri Sussman, writer and producer, and I do direct. I don't consider myself really a director, but I have directed, and I can direct if a good project that I'm able to do. And so I've been in LA for 20 years or so, and we just did a film called Nowhere to Go that I wrote and produced, and a friend of mine, Julie Pacino, directed. So that brings us to you.
Cool. So we'll get onto your film, but I just want to sort of know about where you started. So what you said 20 years you say you've been doing this?
Yeah, 20 years, give or take. I
And
date myself.
I read
20 years.
online. So Nowhere to Go is a film that you made. It's a finalist. It's one of our finalists, which you'll see in the festival on Sunday next week. But I read somewhere that it took you 15 years to write this. Or no, you wrote it 15 years ago.
Yeah, I wrote it 15 years ago. It was one of those that I had written a long time ago. So yeah, I've been in LA for, since I'm 18 basically, and
Wow.
making a career as a writer. And then I produce just basically a lot of my own work to get it made. I haven't really sought out producing as a career, but we all end up doing everything just to keep working. And as a writer, you always just want to see it, what's on the page, on screen. And so I've been lucky to make a living writing. And so I started doing shorts years ago, um, and I just always would write them if I had an idea. I'm kind of like, if hardcore writer, if I have an idea, I gotta write it, and
Yeah.
and I sort of archived it and just always kept it, kind of as something. Oh, I always want to do this short. And I had a bunch of friends over the years would always want to do it. We got as far as, like, searching for locations and table reads, and then another project would come up or something else. So I just had always kind of kept it on the side as one that,
So
that one, someday I'd really like to make this film.
would you say that because of the time that's taken to get to this stage, that Nowhere to Go is something that's quite close to you?
Yeah, it's like, I have so many things that I've written that I just, don't even look at again, and if it's not a work for hire, I have like tons of ideas. And I think, like all writers, you have your file of, it's called the Sheri file, like, and this one always was sort of always kind of in the forefront. Like, every time something would come up, somebody wanted to do a short, or I'd meet an actor, I'd be like, I have this script, Nowhere to Go, and maybe I'll direct it at one time. And then I had a really talented director, a friend of mine, wanted to do it, and then he got a real gig. It's not like this isn't a real gig,
Hey,
but
this is
he
just
got a
for
big
those
film,
who
and yeah,
haven't
he got a
seen
big
it.
film, so he left. And so it just was always there. Yeah.
For those that haven't seen it, Nowhere to Go is a really nice and sweet short film. I've seen it and I really enjoyed it. I think you guys did a great job, and it's a very serious issue, that you guys tackle. And I'll let you explain more. So tell everyone about Nowhere to Go.
Well, it's about a teenage girl. She's 17 and literally in the middle of nowhere. And randomly encounters a guy, and basically you find out they're both, you know, considering, contemplating, or possibly have killed themselves, and then they just kind of connect on a level, like, more or less that they can just relate to how they each feel without it being preachy, or it's got a little tongue-in-cheek feel to it. And Julie did a great job coming up with an idea of literally setting it in purgatory, because it was always about that feeling of purgatory where you don't necessarily want to die, but you don't want to live the way you're living. And she had a great interpretation that made it universal of just any place in your life that you're not where you want to be, but you really have no solution and no way out. So that it's got a little lightheartedness. It was intended to be sort of a Harold and Maude, but then you know, Julie got involved and sort of took it to a more kind of I don't know if it's esoteric or whatever the word is semantically, whatever the film word is, but it's just got a nice kind of I call it like a floaty feel, like a poem.
Yeah,
that
definitely.
you're just saying to people, and so that's what always was the intention, to leave you with a little bit of hope. I'm not one to try to solve the complexities of depression and suicide and why somebody makes it through and somebody doesn't. I don't think, you know, there's any simple answers. I know a lot of great people, sadly, you know, haven't made it through and had great people around them and lots of love and support, you know, and things. So I don't think for me, it just isn't like a black and white kind of issue. But in this moment, there was just a little moment of hope of somebody not preaching to somebody, but just saying, like, all these crazy thoughts you have, like I have them too. And that kind of was the simple idea behind definitely heavy subject that we weren't trying to make light of. But
I think you did an amazing job of, you know, I think there's a lot of people that have been suffering with mental health, you know, and whether it's about depression or, you know, even suicide, it's a serious issue, and not many people,
of course,
it's a very touchy subject. You don't want to get it wrong, and I think you did a great job at delivering it in a way that it was relatable to people from all different backgrounds. So whether you've actually been in that actual depth of it, you know, to the point where you are at that decision, or to the point where you've actually just been through a hard time, and like you said, you know, people might be in a job that they're uncomfortable with or unhappy with, and it's those little times where people can look at this and relate to how it feels to feel in this world of and it sort of feels like that in 2020, to be honest.
It's the extreme version. It's like nowhere to go on steroids, 2020. Yeah, I know, it's kind of crazy, I guess, in a sense that I did have it for so long, and then all of a sudden we made it, like, last year, just out of the blue. It wasn't like, oh, this is the year I'm going to make it. It just sort of happened, and it just was one of those, if you're being, you know, kind of spiritual about it, it just found its time, because I tried so many other times to make it and it didn't happen. And for projects like that, I'm always like, this just doesn't feel right. I'm gonna just, you know, hold off on it, because there's no urgency on making, you know, shorts, in a sense, unless you're doing it, you know, to raise money for a feature or something. But I think the idea that it is just the two people kind of in the same place, there's some strange comfort in that, you know. I don't know, maybe serial killers find it, you know, like, yeah, I want to kill people too, and, you know, I don't know. It's
have you
it's
found
something
people
that
have you found people that have watched it that have had a different interpretation? Because the end is really interesting, and I'm not going to spoil nothing. So, but have you found any sort of different interpretations to how this could, you know, how it ended, or what people took from it?
Yeah, definitely. And you know, Julie had a really definitive idea of what it means, and then it's kind of left to everybody to interpret however they want, you know, where they are, what's going to happen next. And I think the universal message, you know, comes across that, hey, you know, there are other people in this place. You're not the only one, if that helps at all, you know. And maybe for that moment it helps, which sometimes is good, and it cracks open a little bit of hope. and then who knows from there. Like I said, I hate to say like it's as simple as, you know, you find hope in something because you connect with a person and your life is saved. Like, you know, I would never
Yeah.
say that, you know, and
Yeah.
there are wonderful people that did make it through this. So I'm always really delicate and cautious. And that's why I never, you know, would rush to do this if it didn't feel right. Because it
Yeah.
is it's a pretty serious subject that um, I didn't have any like preachy message of I've got this solved, you know. Like if you just meet somebody at Starbucks and they say the right thing, your life is saved, you know. I mean, I wish it was like that. So the idea was just for this moment, you know.
Yeah.
There's always hope somewhere, and maybe that brings hope. But I definitely did it because I thought Julie really understood that, and we had talked about it, and she was just shooting shorts, just how it came about in New York, and I've known her for a while, and we'd always kind of shared work, and I met her years ago, and she showed me her one of my favorite shorts she did was a 1 minute short called Taking Sarah Home, and we kind of had the same sensibility, and then her style is a little more out of the box, and I'm a little
Can I
more
just pause you really quickly?
sure.
Just for people that are listening, Julie Pacino is the director of Nowhere to Go. So just for those wondering who Julie is, she's very, very talented. I'm going to be speaking to her on Thursday. That interview will be going on our podcast. Oops, that spilled the beans. We're going to be making a podcast, for those that didn't know. We're making a podcast, and that will either go on our podcast or our YouTube channel. So stay tuned. But yes, Julie Pacino is the director of Nowhere to Go. Sorry.
Oh, okay, right. Sorry. I went off on a tangent. I'm doing.
I think I did too just there.
No, that's a good tangent. I thought I had said that. Sometimes it's only my second cup of coffee. You know, I'll kick in a couple, after my fourth cup in a couple hours. So,
Also, in LA, it's 11 a.m. right over there.
Yeah, 11:14.
Nice. Yeah, for us, it's 7 o'clock in the evening. But that's the beautiful thing about this, and this is one thing that I've really enjoyed this year is, you know, getting to meet people from all different parts of the world who have been creative, especially during this time. You know, I think a lot of people have been in positions where it's similar to the story of your film, you know, where you think, do I give up? Do I stop? Do I continue? And whether or not, did you make the film this year, or was it made last year?
Last year, we actually made it. We finished it last summer, about last September 2019. And we had just started the festival circuit. So we premiered at the Hollywood Reel Independent Festival, which is one I love, at the Regal Cinemas here. And we actually won that Best Dramatic Short.
Oh, congratulations.
And, thank you. So yeah, it was great. So that was our big premiere. And then we got into the Beverly Hills 20th Anniversary Film Festival. Our screening was April 1st, and they canceled it in the middle of March. So that was our one and only festival screening. And then we've gotten quite a few others online now. And yes, it's a whole different world. So we're super grateful to be shown anywhere, and we're grateful to be included in a finalist in your festival. Was, you know, really
well,
cool.
we're happy to have it, and you know, we're in the same position. I think, you know, we would have, like, we're in a position where our finalists are incredible. You know, our judges, we've got 10 independent judges who have been working like crazy to sort of pick their films, and you know, it's been really hard. You know, picking winners has been really difficult. So you know, they're you know, working hard at it, but for us it's a shame because it's online. You know, there's only so much we can show, and it's such a shame because in person, you know, we would have loved to have shown all of the films because they're incredible. So you know, it's one of those tough things this year to see, you know, that all the different finalists. But one thing I have loved is speaking to people like yourself and people who have actually, because like you said, you made it last year, but it's still the plug-in, it's still the, you know, doing these and talking about it. It takes a lot of energy, you know, it takes a lot of time and effort to really keep pushing it. And that's one thing I think you guys have been doing really well at sort of trying to reach out to people. And you know, have you had any other sort of success or interest with it so far? Because I hear that you've been quite successful in terms of selections and awards and whatnot.
Yeah, we've been lucky to do some festivals. I mean, to be honest, it does open up another world because you're really not allowed to do online festivals. So it was the first time, because I've had some good luck with my other films over the years and festivals. Yeah. So I have nice relationships with a lot of these people, as does Julie and everybody that worked on it. And I just started entering some of these monthly festivals, and they're very, very nice, you know, and I otherwise wouldn't have, you know, until we finished the festival circuit, because you know, you can't do
Yeah.
that, which is always a bit of a shame, you know, to block anybody from seeing short films. And so yeah, even films like your festival, you dig a little deeper, you know, because you're like, where else can you show your film and around the world? So I did work kind of hard. You know, Julie and I were kind of trying to figure out where would we go from here with it, since everything was canceled. So we've been lucky. We won a few awards, and we're in the Soho Film Festival. Sorry, I was trying to remember my festival slate as I'm rambling on and putting everyone to sleep. It's the Soho Film Festival we just did, and the La Femme Film Festival. We were a top 3 finalist, and
Wow.
they both had really nice online, like, live Q&As, and they did a really nice online festival. And yeah, they are a lot of work, and I'm kind of old school. Like, I literally had to just buy like a stand for my cell phone. I did my first Zoom with everybody. We did a Q&A party for Nowhere to Go at the La Femme Festival, and it was
nice.
my first Zoom. Like, I've avoided the Zooms. I don't know.
I'm not any better.
Yeah.
I've been having to do them, and it's quite complicated.
No, and it is
What?
a shame, because the biggest part of and reason of doing shorts is to go to the festivals and meet people. And
Yeah.
you know, if you're not working in features constantly and fortunate enough to do that, you know, you do short films is where we get to go and meet other
Well, that's the thing.
filmmakers.
Short films, it's not many people realize, you know, that you know, there's the big sort of glam of Hollywood, and when you see short films, you know, a lot of people put them, and they put their time, their effort, their money, and it's not about making money, you know, it's about sharing your stories.
Right.
And this is one thing I'm passionate about, and this is why I created this festival, because it's all about sharing those stories, you know. So that's why I've said to people that whether people are selected or not, whether they're finalists or winners, you know, we will continue to, you know, be passionate about sharing these stories. And like you said, one thing that I wanted to hit on is the networking. That's a big deal, you know, and that's one thing I miss. I miss networking with people, and
Yeah.
you know, I use these opportunities to speak to people. But you know, I'm interested to learn about how you met with Julie Pacino and how you got into, you know, how that relationship blossomed.
Oh, okay. And then just to follow up, what I did forget, the little breaking news, I guess. If
I was hinting at it, but I
we're
wasn't sure.
we're such big time. Like, yeah, no, we qualified for the Oscar race, but we just forewalled it, and we thought it was worthy to try to enter, because also along with the 2020 kind of festival, you know, reality is, it was a great way just to have people in the industry see it that we felt might come to our screenings. And so this kind of film, I just kind of felt like it was, and Julie agreed, we could, you know, kind of go for that. So if anybody's a voting member, you know, you like our film, we always appreciate
Well, congratulations.
and we're doing that.
I was
Yeah.
hinting at it, but I wasn't sure if you're allowed to
No,
say it
that's
yet. So, but congratulations, you have qualified for an
no.
Oscar race. That is incredible.
Yeah, and then, like I said, I really give credit to the films that won the Oscar qualifying festivals, and then, you know, and are you know, accepted that way. And then we also are about to sign a deal with Shorts TV, which I have 2 other short films that I've done that they distribute, and they're a great Shorts TV channel. And
Yeah.
you know, if anybody out there, filmmaker, Shorts TV, they're really great and great people, and they have deals with, you know, Amazon Prime and iTunes and Apple TV, and they actually are one of the only 24-hour short film channels. They're through DirecTV and owned by AMC, and they're throughout the world. So we're in the middle of, you know, signing a deal with them on that.
Yeah.
And then how I met Julie Pacino, about 10 or so years ago, we met, you know, through mutual contacts. And let's see, I think the first day I met Julie, she was at AFM, and I gave her a ride, and I think we actually came up with like an idea for a Bad News Bears update of the owner of Pink's buying the Dodgers at the time, because the Dodgers were on sale. And so we just started laughing. We had a lot in common. And
Great.
then and Julie, she was younger than obviously she was 10 years younger, and so was I. But she was developing a script that I just thought was quite brilliant. It was a bit of a Donnie Darko of Mice and Men.
Okay.
And I loved her sensibility. And like I said, and she showed me a short she did in film school called Taking Sarah Home. I just thought it was brilliant. And I love shorts, you know, I'm a big
Yeah.
fan of short films. And, you know, ideally you'd like to have a huge career and a lot of money and do short films, you know, for the pure pleasure of doing them, which you still do, but there's always
Yeah.
the business side of work begets work, and you just want to have, you know, films being made. You know, if you're not
Yeah.
raising money for features and stuff. But so that's how I met Julie, and then we stayed friends all these years. And I literally just emailed her nowhere to go. Out of the blue, I was cleaning out my computer, and I ran across it, and she'd been shooting just really great short films in New York, and I just said, maybe, you know, I'm gonna toss this to Julie. Maybe she'll want to do it. So I kind of gave it to her, and then she said, okay, let's do it.
Yeah. It's great. Oh, I think we've lost you there for a sec. I can hear you now.
Did you get me?
I
Is that
didn't get
funny?
the end of that.
So I sent it to her, and then I said, here, why don't you guys do this? And it's in the middle of nowhere, so Julie has a really wicked sense of humor. And she goes, where is the middle of nowhere in New York? Like, we got to shoot this in LA, like Central Park. And so she goes, come, you know, come out, I'll do it. Oh, and then she was working with a really, really super brilliant up-and-coming cinematographer and producer who's partners with her company she formed with friends called Tiny Apples. And so they all jumped in, and Aaron Meinhardt was our DP, who just, you know, kind of blew us all away. And he and Julie had been working together on other projects. So I took, you know, all the people I know out here. A friend of mine, Adam Rex, was the production manager for NCIS LA, and people like that. So I brought in my crew and combined with Julie's group from Tiny Apples. Her one of our partners, Bob McGreedy, came in and he did our end credits and did our trailer. I know you guys had our trailer, and so the combination of everybody kind of just worked. And so that was it on how we got to know where to go. But Julie and I just have been friends and always share work, and thought, you know,
it's really nice. And I mean, it's inspirational to have two, you know, powerful female filmmakers in this modern times, you know. So I think
it's bothering anybody. Like, sorry,
it's not bothering
sorry,
me.
it's like, I don't know.
In lockdown, my hair
like,
grew so long.
Anybody?
It was I was in the same boat. It just kept flapping over my eyes, and I hated it. But yeah, it's cut short now. The barbers are open, so we're all safe.
Sorry to break the unprofessional. Like,
oh, that's all right. We're you know, we're always happy to be happy. It must feel great, you know. You've not only you working with your friends, but having people that really believe in it, you know, and believe in your story and your projects. I think that is something to be admired. You know, I think any filmmaker and writer, you know, out there, I wonder whether they would be in a position that maybe they don't have those people to go to, you know. And maybe if Julie said, oh, I don't feel this, you know, how would you felt as a writer? You know, do you feel, is it because it's quite personal, these stories, and you know, they come from your heart, you know, you put a lot of time into them. And do you think that is it harder for people these days, like young writers that are looking to explore and find people to work with?
I actually think it's the opposite. I think so many young people do everything. Oh my goodness! Like back in the day when I, you know, started. So the first short I did did with friends too. My friend Billy Worth, who was in films like Lost Boys. He's one of those actors you see and go, oh, I know that guy. And he had a feature film, MacArthur Park, which I ended up co-writing with him, and we were in Sundance. But he wanted to direct a short. And I gotta tell you, when we did ours, we were lucky because I have a lot of mentors behind the scenes and stuff. I got very fortunate through my stepfather, and so we shot on 35, and we, you know, got all these huge favors. And he ended up, through his actress, getting Gary Marshall to do a cameo. Wow. And so the point is like when we were doing it, you were so limited because you had to go everywhere to get everything done. And now all these younger people, I mean, even like, you know, everybody I'm working with that's, you know, so much younger, they do everything. So you can edit at home, and you can run out and get a digital camera, and, you know, you can
Yeah.
do shorts on your own, and so many other people are doing them. So there's no reason. And
I think that's the
that was
thing
a
we've.
great way to segue to Gary Marshall and Billy and Kismet. And
Well, yeah,
but
Kismet. I was going to ask you
but
about that because
I know it's
not
funny
only have
because
you
he
got Gary Marshall and all these cool actors, you had Jerry Springer.
no, well, Jerry Springer oddly was easy because I grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio, and he knew my parents, and I called him and said I'm doing this, spoof on romantic comedy. It's a spoof on romantic comedies is what it is, and then we had an idea of she imagines herself on the Jerry Springer show like her worst nightmare, she married the wrong guy, and he said he'd love to do it. So he was actually easy, and we shot after the shows that they had filmed, so we had the whole crew and the audience and everything. But
Do you
but yeah,
find?
I've been really lucky. To answer your question directly, I've been really fortunate to. I don't know if I've chosen to, because you go through a lot of people that didn't work out and things didn't go well, and I just try to surround myself from people that I know are supportive or I think are, at least to my face, and and
That's all
you
that matters, really.
yeah, I know. I'm in Hollywood. I like
Yeah.
it, and that's my my Hollywood. So you do, and you get burned a few times here and there where people
Yeah.
maybe try to just undermine you and things like that. But I've been really lucky. I mean, all my friends are. I don't. I'm a crazy geek of a filmmaker. All my friends are filmmakers or writers or actors, and I'm lucky to work with them. And
Yeah.
so, and I've been really fortunate to have a lot of support. I don't have a really cynical horror Hollywood story. I've been really fortunate with the people I've met on all levels, from veterans in the business to new people. And
That's
so
great. I think all these stories, because you said there are lots of people that are cynical, and I think
yeah,
even after all the years that you have been at it, that you still keep that sense of. I get this vibe of this sense of gratitude and happiness,
yeah.
and to have that still, after all these years, that's amazing, and I think it's
Oh,
well
thank you.
deserved. You should be
Thank you.
proud of what you're
Well,
achieving,
thank
because
yeah.
it's great, and whether or not it's going to benefit you, it could benefit people that watch it. People are inspired, and I think that's really, really good. And talking of inspirations, what inspirations have you had? What films have you seen, or filmmakers that have inspired you?
Oh, I don't. Yeah, having said that, on the last point, I get frustrated. So I'm not like, I don't walk around like, because I do better, like I said, better than some, worse than others. And of course,
Yeah.
through my career where, people do know my name and things like that. But I think it is just, you got to just keep working. So it's frustration, but not cynicism, because it's
Yeah,
a
yeah.
chosen profession. We're just lucky to do this. And if I can pay my rent, I hope my mom's not watching this, but yeah, if I can just pay my rent, you still stay in it and things. And I'm inspired. I'm just an old movie buff, like little kid, I was watching black and white movies. So, I love the little Butterfield Eights and I love the kind of the films I always love. Sidney Pollack as a director, and of course, the old Oscar Wilde and Arthur Miller, Sam Shepard, those kind of writers, filmmakers. There's so many. And I love sort of all genres, and I write all genres in all my films. I mean, I go from films about, homeless and addiction to romantic comedies to I have a feature, One Week in Hollywood, that's a satire about Hollywood. It's like an adaptation in the player. And that one, I'm fortunate. I have a nice package of Olivia Hussey, who, because I am an old film buff, she played, Romeo and Juliet in Franco Zeffirelli's Romeo and Juliet, and she's attached. And her daughter, Indy Isley's attached, was in Underworld, and my friend Ian Buchanan from Twin Peaks, he's attached. So,
Wow.
so those guys, I love, P.T. Anderson, I love Spike Jonze. And then I love the old classic filmmakers, Orson Welles, and kind of the standards. And
And from loving those old filmmakers, because I mean, you know, a lot of us grew up, and there's this whole talk at the moment about theatres and whether, you know, I don't know if you've seen, well, you must have, because it's over there, what's been happening with the chains, you know, that are
Yeah.
distributing all the way to,
Oh.
yeah, to on-demand services, you know, and a lot of theatres are, you know, I think it was AMC that weren't very happy with that. And I mean, there's this big debate. I'm a massive fan of going to the theatre to watch a movie. Like
Me
you
too.
know, I
Yeah,
like going by myself
that's one of the.
sometimes, you know.
I know it sounds horrible as a filmmaker. That's one of the saddest things. I literally live across the street. You go out of my apartment, across the street, and the door to the AMC Dine-In Theater
Oh,
is right
amazing.
across the street from me. And I love the theater. I mean, I love sitting in a movie theater and watching on the screen. I'll go, you know, 2 or 3 movies a day. I did since I was a kid, like my Great Escape. Probably movies probably literally saved my life when I was a teenager. And then if you see Nowhere to Go, you get it. But yeah, I grew up in Cincinnati. I would just literally go from one theater to the next, and you know, just sneak in, you know. And you always hear that, but I really did. And I love the theater, and I love going when nobody's there, and I love and even some like our film is just beautiful on screen. We did a little private screening. We were lucky enough at Paramount and just sitting in, you know, where they do the dailies for, you know, Scorsese films and stuff. You know, I still geek out on kind of stuff like that, and it is a shame. And we shot a homeless documentary on 35 millimeter, and to see it on screen was just, it's just stunning.
Yeah.
And so I've been lucky, and I missed the theaters, and you know, I hope it works itself out. I can't imagine. They've been saying this for years, though, that the theaters will
Yeah.
be obsolete. So
So it's really hard. I try to not read the comments because it makes me upset. But you know, uh, just having the escape. You know, I like to go by myself and just
yeah,
escape. And
too.
it's you know, obviously you mentioned Scorsese there. I actually when I'm maybe a bit too. I'm not as matured yet to have enjoyed Goodfellas in the cinema when it first came out, but. Recently, they showed it in one of the screens near us, and I went by myself midday, you know, and just sat in there, and it was just, you know, mind blowing. You know, even Irishman that came out, you know, it was on streaming, but our local cinema in Catford Mews, you know, who's one of our sponsors, they screened it there, and I just sat in there and just lose yourself, you know, and you can just
Oh
escape
yeah.
from everything. So it's really
Well,
nice.
yeah, like you have for directors like Terrence Malick, I love, and you know, Stanley Kubrick, and their films like on screen, or I mean, if you know, you just watch a Terrence Malick film on screen, I
Yeah.
can't imagine you get the same feeling watching it,
No.
you know, on demand, and
Yeah. I
it
mean,
is, it's the experience of
this
the theater, and yeah, I hope that they make it through. I really do.
cool. Well, I want to talk before we go a little bit about your future plans and what you intend to do next.
So I am raising money for the feature. One Week in Hollywood is one of my big indie films that I'll direct and produce, and that I've written. And like I said, we have a really nice group of veteran actors and up and coming. And Kyle Kaminsky, who's in Nowhere to Go. He
Okay.
just was in the Candyman. Unfortunately, they, you know, postponed the premiere, but that'll be next year. So he's also in the lead in One Week in Hollywood, and
Oh, nice.
so we've been raising money for that. And then Julie, she'll tell you Thursday she's in post on a short that we did after this that Julie
Okay.
directed and wrote and produced, and her company Tiny Apples and mine co-produced it. And so that was the shout out to some English actors. Laura Clear, she's
Okay.
I think she won the BAFTA Newcomer
Yeah.
Award a few years ago. She's in it. Ian Buchanan's in it. Kyle Kaminsky, who was in Nowhere to Go, and two really brilliant young actresses, Sarah Rich and Fern Cozy. And
What's the name of the film?
it's called Harmony and Gold, and it's
Harmony and Gold.
so it's, yeah, quintessential Julie. It's it's like a Tim Burton, you can't mix David Lynch, and
Wow.
it's totally like Julie's complete voice as a filmmaker, even though she can do anything. And so it's really trippy and cool. And so they're finishing that, and Aaron Meinhardt, Aaron shot that also, and it was a lot of the same group of people. We did that right after she had it planned before we shot Nowhere to Go, and then they were doing it and asked me to come on board and produce it with them. So we did that. So that, yeah, that's one to look for.
Well, I cannot
very
wait
cool.
to see it. And also, you better be submitting next year, and hopefully we'll be able to be in person and hopefully enjoy
Yeah.
it. And with your feature, you know, we'll support you as much as we can. So anything
Thank
you
you
need,
so
just
much.
give us a shout. We'll shout about it. And all of the people that view this will go and watch it as well, because they're caring and lovely people, aren't you, South London Film Festival community?
Thank
Anyway,
you guys.
Sheri, it's really, really lovely talking to you. And
You too.
I look forward to talking to Julie to hear her side of the story on Thursday.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You'll enjoy it. She's great. And thank you guys. Thanks everybody for listening. And thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Well, hopefully we get to do this in person next time. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
I was going to say have a lovely evening, but have a lovely day. Enjoy the rest of your day.
You too. Have a good evening. Thanks a lot, Carrie. Thank you so much.
No problem. Take care. Bye.
You too. Bye-bye.